All right, we should be live. So welcome back, everybody. It's been a week since I've spoken with you all on this format, and I'm really lucky to be joined today by Commissioner Randy Maluchnik. Randy, if you want to introduce yourself, go right ahead.
Sure, I'll be glad to do that. I'm Randy Maluchnik, a county commissioner. I've been a county commissioner in Carver County since 2007, and I'm running for re-election at this time. So I guess we can talk a little bit about kind of one of my emphasis has been for quite some time is veterans. When I left the military, I got involved in advocating pretty much as an avocation and later as a vocation for veterans, beginning with Congressman Mingy's office. I was a Veterans and Military Liaison and spent a lot of time helping veterans and their families out, and also people on active duty and their families. So I kind of fell into it, and I can't fall out of it. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a belief that these people have earned our respect and they've earned our support. So that's what I've done, and I've tried to do that as county commissioner, and my 6 years at the Department of Veterans Affairs as a veterans service representative. So that's who I am.
And so when I say, bring in the experts to the table to make the right decision, this is what we're doing today. So thank you so much for lending your time and talent to this discussion today. I'm friends with a lot of veterans. I have a lot of veterans in my family as well. So this is something very near and dear to my heart. And I know that the state can be doing more to support veterans in Carver County. So glad to get into this discussion. So how long and where did you serve exactly? Good.
Well, I always say that I had a very undistinguished military career, but I did last 24 years, which would certainly surprise me and many of the people that I went to school with, that I lasted that long in the military, but being somewhat of a rebel in some cases. But I enlisted in high school the very first day that I could to do so on my 18th birthday. I could have gone towards the end of my 17th year, but my father, who had a long military career, somehow felt that maybe I wasn't ready. So I had to wait till I turned, and I went to school, and the next afternoon I went into the National Guard and I enlisted, or did the paperwork. It takes a little while to get it all done. So anyway, I joined National Guard, and I saw up there, I was working at a drive-in to help supplement my family's income. It was a pretty rough little spit of time there when we weren't, my father and mother had some economic problems and pay, and so I worked at a drive-in, and I knew how to fry hamburgers and make French fries, and I was a fountain jerk for those people who probably don't know or were born later, don't know what that term means. But anyway, I did all that kind of work. So I saw up there on the board, up on the wall, that there was a slot available for cooks. And I said, well, I don't like to be, hungry or thirsty. So I figure I'll take that course. So I did that. And then they sent me off to Fort Dix, New Jersey. And I did basic training there, which I thought was really super because for the first time, and I grew up, and I think I've told you this before, I grew up in a very prejudiced, segregated area in Western Pennsylvania. And then when I moved to Wyoming, there was a lot of prejudice, but people respected you for what you could do out there because they don't have the workforce. So if you're good, what we used to call a working hand, you got a lot of respect. But anyway, so I got to work with people from North Philadelphia, Harlem, Puerto Ricans from Brooklyn and Queens, and I just got this whole exposure to diversity, and of course back then we called it race relations, and I thought that I felt that was really important, and I made lifelong friends there. We had several at the time under the Nixon administration. We had a very good working relationship with Nicaragua. So in my squad, I think we had 4 members, and our squad leader was from Nicaragua. And they were very interesting and good people to work with. We always laugh about Welcome Back Carter show, and the one gentleman that played a character was a Puerto Rican Jewish person. Well, those people exist and they live in Brooklyn. I got to meet one of them and he became a very good friend of mine. And so it was a great experience for a person like myself who wasn't really subjected to a lot of diverse communities and folks, and to pick up their culture and learn about their food. I found fascinating, and especially when I would go with them back to their neighborhoods. I just some of the things in North Philly, interesting food, and certainly to this day when I go to Brooklyn or I go to Queens, I still partake in some of that food, and I just love it. So then we just moved up the road when we graduated from basic training and became a cook. Went to cook school there, and I found that really great. Went back to my state, and I was with a field artillery unit, so we were out in the field a lot. We did preparing meals out in the field. I got really good at making SOS, which is the chipped beef and gravy and put on toast in the morning. And it's kind of famous for that and the amount of Tabasco sauce that I would use. And it was really good for the folks in the field. I went to advanced NCO school after a few years. And while I was there, I scored 4th in leadership in a very large class. And so a couple hundred people. And so I was invited back to be assigned to the NCO Academy. And I took that job. And one of the reasons they could, because we didn't have a slot to fill, but they needed some more people. So I held the cook slot. At the same time was a staff NCO in charge of the leadership reactionary course, which gave me a long, let me tell you, I got some good stories about that. But anyhow, preparing these young officers to lead people and, improving their leadership skills was something I kind of got into in the military and several times. And so I did that. And then I worked for a big logistics company. And of course, at that time, we were looking at energy development. So I went to, in Wyoming, I started with a company that provided big kitchens, big modulars for people to live, because you move in the middle of Wyoming. There's no town. They're 18 miles away. These 2,500 people have to live somewhere and they have to eat somewhere. So we took care of that. I loved working for that company, made lots of good money in the private sector, thought that was great. And I got transferred up to North Dakota to Beulah, where they were building, I think most people know about the power plant up there outside of Beulah. And while I was there, I was selected for recruiter duty full time, and that's Title 32. Unlike Title 10, not much difference. Same thing, you're in the Army. So anyway, I spent 8 years doing that. And when we completed our degrees, me and the National Guard on full-time employment decided to separate. We did that. We moved to Minnesota. I married a Minnesota girl when I was in North Dakota. We graduated from the University of North Dakota. Got a master's degree up there. Always used my military benefits to get my my degrees. So both my undergraduate degrees and my master's degree. So then I was able to finish my last year and a half working with ROTC units as a staff NCO in the area. So both doing some things for the University of Minnesota and at the time Mankato State. And again, coming back to the old thing, falling in and helping these young new officers or people training to be officers to be effective leaders. So I always enjoyed that, and that's what seemed to trip my trigger. So I was glad to do that and serve my country for 24 years, little over 8, almost 9 years of active participation with my military service. The rest was part-time.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
That's a long story. Sorry.
No, that's okay. We're getting a lot of comments right now saying thank you for your service, and great to hear,
Well, when they thank me for my service, I always tell people I didn't have anything better to do anyway. So, but I don't mean to demean anybody else's service. I mean, to be honest, I really didn't. So I lived in Wyoming, so.
Yeah. All right. So what does the structure of leadership look like in the service? And then we can talk about it.
It's very unique. And I try to carry that through my management or leadership that I do at the county now, and all the organizations that I work with through my role as a county commissioner. But the officers, you know, they do the policy, the planning, the operations. They set up a plan of action. But the people that really make it all go is the enlisted, the non-commissioned officers, and they lead the troops, and they carry out the plans set by the officers. And I think anybody that's ever been in the military know the non-commissioned officers are the backbone of the military, and nothing happens without strong NCOs. And we proved that even after the Vietnam War, we lost a lot of strong NCOs. We weren't working very hard to replenish them. And we had some lean years where the military wasn't that effective. I would say in the, it would be the mid to the late 70s, almost 1980, before we started really coming back from that. You've got to keep putting new people in the system so that they can grow and develop and become strong leaders. And if you don't do that, then of course you jeopardize our military readiness, and that's not what we want to happen. So that's how it works.
Yeah, thank you. We did get a question. Randy, what have you personally done for veterans in Carver County?
Oh my gosh. Okay, we got an hour.
Yeah.
Well, you mean other than, you know, first of all, I've helped so many with their claims, driven them to the VA. I've helped them get dental services on an individual basis. I've talked some down from suicidal situations and then moved them along to services that they needed. We had one veteran, woman veteran returned, and there was sexual trauma. And actually, in this particular case, it was just the threat of sexual trauma. And she was in my office all curled up in the fetal position. And thank goodness she had a mother who was a school social worker who recognized this when her daughter first came back. And we were able to get her the help. A couple of things I'm really proud about is the expansion of the County Veteran Service Office. And, you know, this has to evolve. So we had Korean War veterans run that. We've had Vietnam veterans run the service office, be our service officer. But we have to move into the next generation, because I think I understand the veterans from Vietnam, and I think I can relate to them. I'm gonna be honest, the new crop, you know, coming back from Afghanistan and that theater of operations, I might have trouble communicating, and you have to understand that you could. So we've gotten younger folks in that office, simply through people retiring and that kind of thing. And we've expanded the office, and we've made it a mission to be outreach, so that we can, sometimes we call them ghosts. They're veterans out there with problems, and I don't want to say hiding, but they're not obvious to everybody that they have these problems. So we've expanded these services. I'm hoping that we can get a woman or a county veteran service officer that's a woman, so that we can do a better job for women veterans here in Carver County. The other thing is called the CVAP, which is Carver County Veterans Assistance Program. And it takes time to work with the feds and the state to get, you know, people into their programs that they deserve. They earn these benefits. These are not handouts. These are things that people have earned. And so the County Veteran Service, the County Veterans CVAP program, Carver County Veterans Assistance Program. And so I had a lot of veterans groups, individuals who wanted to help. And so what we did is working through veterans organizations and veterans advocates in the community, we set up this program, the Carver County Veterans Assistance Program. And this is to fill in the gaps, you know, needs gas card to go to work, needs some repair on their car, you know, and then we have a committee there, commissioner's not involved. The service officer just certifies off that they're eligible, you know, and then they do things like that. And it's a new program. We haven't had that many takers yet, but again, it's new on the horizon. On the shelter side of things, we had when I worked for Congressman Mingy, we used to have homeless veterans come in. They used to live down in the Minnesota River Valley, you know, and they'd have these boxes and they'd have plastic over them and this kind of thing. And then they come in and talk to me. And I would, send them over to the housing office that we had at the time. And they would simply tell them, well, you need to go down to Minneapolis if you want to get into a shelter, because we have nothing out here for veterans who are unsheltered, So that always troubled me that we had to do that. So because these are just people down and out on their luck. They're not bad people. They're certainly not. Some people would say they're not scabs on our society. These are people who have problems, usually caused by their military service, and so we have to find to get them housed. So I challenged, and it took a while to get it done, our community development authority to get some veterans transitional housing. So I'm very proud that they stepped up the plate. They did a great job. Their advisory committee over there, and the staff did a great job and found a location where I believe we have 3 units, it might be 4, of transitional housing right in downtown Chaska. And it's been very successful. We have some folks in there. I've been concerned about domestic abuse also and sheltering those folks. And we were able to, some of those veterans were in those kind of situations and we could help them. So I'm very proud that your county government and its associate, the Community Development Authority, was able to answer that call. To do that, we enlisted the MACV, Minnesota Assistance Council of Veterans, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I was there when they created it in the 90s. And the guy was a phenomenal advocate that created that organization. And they floundered for a while. And, it takes a while for an organization to find a direction. But man, they are really setting the world on fire now and helping a lot of veterans. And some of it's state money, some of it's federal money, and some of it's contributions. And these folks, it's the perfect scenario for housing. We have the housing is owned, operated, maintained by our Community Development Authority, which, by the way, does a super job of doing that. They just really do. They second to none. I mean, they're there. They're this world-class way to operate and maintain a building. They're wonderful at building maintenance and all that. And the second part that's important is you have the MACV folks providing the support services that hopefully will help these folks. They're in transitional situation in the housing where they can move on and provide for their families and deal with their if it's addiction problems or whatever, the mental health issues, whatever it is. So we're giving them a little, what we call in the military, a stand down, if you will, so that they can move on and again, take care of themselves and their families while they progress and move down the road. So I'm very proud of our relationship with MACV and of their work all through the region. So we're very glad about that. And we work very hard with our Department of Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs. And of course, that's why we're talking to you.
Yep.
Exactly. If you're going to prevail in the election, we need state senators to support funding there. Absolutely. And we always in Carver County are supportive of a training for our county veteran service officers. The thing I'd like to, when I worked at the Department of Veterans Affairs as a veteran service representative, we covered the whole western part of the United States, anything west of the Mississippi. Yeah. And so I had to work with veteran advocates for all over the country. I can tell you without a doubt that Minnesota was number one with these county veteran service officers and helping our veterans and getting them the benefits that they deserve. Now, Texas, I'll be honest, was a close second, but that's okay. The problem down there is that a lot of their positions were governed by different hiring rules. Although county veteran service office is an appointment and doesn't have to go through the normal hiring process, but we do here in Carver County. But in Texas, it's a little more of a political decision on who might get that job. But it doesn't matter. I used to call them up and they'd go out and find a veteran out in a nursing home and get the documentation I needed to award them the benefits that they so rightly deserve. So, well, I went on for a long time.
No, that's okay. That's okay. This is all great information.
Yeah, but somebody asked a question, so we answered it.
Yeah,
And
there
I
you
didn't
go.
get everything in. So, you know, if
There
anybody
you go.
wants more information, give me a call. I'll be glad to talk.
Absolutely. Yep.
So,
Yep.
okay,
Uh,
so where are we at on this? Let's see.
So we kind of touched on the structure of the VA, and I kind
Yep.
of want to get into a little bit more detail about that. So how does that differ at the federal level, state level, local level? And then kind of how do we compare to other counties? I've heard that Carver County is really doing well. So
Yeah, we've evolved, and it's from the leadership, from the county commissioners. At one time, our major function for our county service officer was transportation to the VA healthcare facility. So get them down to their appointments and get them back here. All right. Well, that's good. I mean, that's great, and that's what we had the resources to do at the time. And we didn't have as many veterans here. Okay, and we had aging veterans at that time. So that was the mission at the time. In fact, there used to be jokes is that the service officer, this is a long time ago now, was a van driver, not necessarily a service officer. Now I take offense to that, and the guy that had the job should also, because I know he did other things. But the bottom line is that we expanded our services, as I talked about before, and we've got 3 people and some staff down there that know the job and can get the services that these folks have earned. So, and again, when it's, they always talk about, I ever had to talk about Veterans Court, but we'll talk about that later. So anyway, they make the efforts and do what needs to be done at the county level. And again, I talked earlier about the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs, our relationship with them, making sure that the state programs are administered and people are qualified for emergency assistance and those kinds of things. And then at the federal level, our folks at the service office help them apply for disabilities, for low income programs, program that I worked in at the VA. And there's a lot of paperwork to do and a lot of things that have to be put together. And our veteran service officers make sure that packet is complete so that it moves as timely as possible through the VA system. Now, the VA has different, sometimes they get involved with some different priorities. So, and when I worked there, I understood that. For instance, occasionally a veteran, and this is a long issue, but a veteran will be removed because there's a warrant for their arrest. So they'll be removed from receiving benefits. Now they're given some due notice, but if you've been in jail or whatever the case may be, or you don't know about a warrant, you're probably not at the address that we have on file at the VA. So tracking these folks down, and the VA just wasn't concerned about these. They were these folks at that time. And they were, people were losing their leases on apartments and foreclosure situations and hurting their credit and that because they stopped receiving these benefits. And it's a good portion of the time, the mail, when the VA, believe it or not. So if you say if 1% of the mail is lost, that doesn't seem like a lot, does it? Well, that's thousands and thousands and thousands of information that we didn't get to help this person make the decision. So it's hard work. It's detailed work, but it's important. And at the county, we do our very best to make it somewhat successful for our veterans here. And and I'm very proud of the work that all our county employees do, but particularly because I have a little thing in my heart for veterans. I really appreciate what those folks do down there. And I'm very happy to say it's a diverse workforce at our County Veteran Service Office. And we're very proud of everybody that works there. So, and let's see, what else did we not talk about?
Someone asked, and it kind of goes along with the next, what we were going to get into is how many veterans do we have living here in Carver County? And then I wanted to touch on the ratio of, VSOs to veterans here in Carver County versus like Scott, Ramsey, Hennepin.
Okay, let's see now. You've asked, the problem is I'm terrible remembering facts, but here we go. Okay, but we believe that there's 1,000, there's just under 1,500, 1,473 veterans that we do our ratio per county service officer.
Mhm.
Scott County has per VSO 3,247.
Mhm.
Wright County is 3,860. Sibley County is 817 per VSO. And of course, Hennepin County is almost 5,000. So the ratio of 1,500 veterans per VSO seems high compared to our neighbors. But quite frankly, it's the voters, the taxpayers, who want our veterans taken care of. And you can't and I would actually like to have more people down there, even though the ratio would go way down, because you got to go out and you got to outreach and you got to talk to these people, and they're not coming in your office asking for benefits.
Right.
There's some that don't want them, that don't think they deserve them. And we when they're getting out of the military, in fact, some of our service office employees, Mr. Tigwall, has gone to places like Fort McCoy and other places to do demobilization. And we sell these, you need to have this documentation. You might be qualified for this benefit. Let's do this application. Let's send it in. So you're all ready to go when you get off. I was able to do mine before I left military service. And so it wasn't very long after I was out that I was awarded 50% service connection. And, but I, had a little knowledge. So I was able to make sure that I received the benefits that I had earned. And so that's the ratio. If you want, some people can say, well, maybe you're spending too much, Commissioner. I don't think so.
Yeah. Not when it comes to this, I'll tell you that.
No,
this is more than earned.
And the important thing to note too, based on there's different levels of documentation, how serious a problem is. And, we're getting into traumatic brain injuries and post-traumatic stress disorder and sexual, disorder from, post-traumatic in nature. And some of these claims, signed a paper, we got this, it's okay, no problem, you got everything here. Other ones take a lot of work, a lot of time. And it's just true at the VA. We had the same thing. Some claims, boy, I could do in 15 minutes. And then other ones, I'd have to go and tell the boss, I said, hey, I got to have half a day to do that. Because look at all the issues, you got to hit all the issues. So, and you want to do the very best job. You want to do it right the first time, because if you don't, you clog the system up, and you keep doing, little issues, little actions, and that keeps you from serving other veterans. So that's one of the reasons why county veteran service officers are so important, because they weed through those issues and make sure the person receiving the packet at the VA understand the issues, make it obvious, so the person doesn't have to spend a lot of time, searching through the packet and those kinds of things. So, all right, did we answer that one?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. What we should talk about real quick, if you don't mind, is that the work with post-traumatic stress disorder with the VA, and some people, and I get it. They say, well, that's socialized medicine. And there's always the big discussion on the privatize the VA and all these kinds of things. And some people are always threatening it, or saying that some veterans are always concerned about that. But having this care centralized has helped in some areas. And traumatic brain injuries, the science that has occurred, unfortunately, why it has is because people get harmed more. But this medical information has been passed on and has helped, on the civilian side of the world. So we've been able to help children and those that have unfortunately have had a traumatic brain dysfunction because of injury or whatever. And again, having these folks to get together, we had the data to do that. And also and unfortunately, we still have sexual trauma. But I think the military is trying very hard to do what they can to curb that. And I'm proud that they're doing that. But some of that post-traumatic stress that's caused by a sexual trauma situation, some of that data comes from what the VA has done. And so it's we're I don't want to say we're a laboratory, but we've got people there and we've got data and we've been treating people a long time. One that isn't obvious is that because we treated all the veterans from World War II, were, let's see, prostate cancer
Mhm.
and the necessary treatments in that area, because we have all the data. The VA treated all these folks, and it's a lot better situation than it was at one time,
Mhm.
in being able to have persons survive from that kind of cancer. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's a lot of mental health things that we've done, particularly with post-traumatic stress disorder, that has helped many in our communities. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right.
That's I mean, going off script a little bit, that just brings up a good point. I talk a lot about normalizing therapy and normalizing mental health struggles so people feel more free to talk about it and seek
Mhm.
help if they need it. What kind of outreach does the county do around those issues? Or is there any, specific initiatives that are running right now or you guys want to get off the ground?
Well, we don't do enough, first of all. Okay. And we do it through normal, and I'm not an expert on this, but we do it through our normal outreach.
Mhm.
One thing that I wanted to talk about is that we have the Veterans Court, which is a restorative justice kind of program.
Mhm.
And of course, if you're having a veteran or a person that is frequently as a frequent flyer, as we like to say, in the
Mhm.
in the Carver County Jail, and we discover that they're a veteran, this option can be offered to them. Part of the plan is that you have to deal with your addiction problems or your mental health problems or whatever, the doc says, doctors are saying may be causing this. So that's one way that we outreach and try to find these people. If you're having criminal problems, and they're most likely related to your military service or your exposure to something or traumatic experience in the military service. These are probably the people that are most critical need of this help. So we established a veterans court several years ago. I brought back information from a national organization. Our county attorney, Mr. Metz, was just, head over heels trying to get this done. And the county board put some money to their constituency fund to bring in some people to talk to the first judicial district. I
Mhm.
was proud to make that motion and get a second and get a 5-0 vote. And it was, they went down, they put it together. I want to thank, and there's a lot of judges that have helped with this, but
Mhm.
I want to thank Judge Kane for her leadership and her caring about these folks. And I've seen her in a veterans court, and she was really great with a woman veteran. And I was just so proud of her, how successful this veteran was in
Mhm.
resolving her problems. And, we don't want to see him back at the jail. And it costs money. It costs money if we don't solve these problems. That's why we do restorative justice. So
Mhm.
we're very happy. So as a state senator,
Yes.
I need more funding for
Yes.
Veterans Court. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, we're looking at the state cheating us. No, I'm sorry. Stealing. No, that's not right. $85,000 in 2021
Mhm.
that we received in the previous year, they're threatening not to give us. So
Mhm.
I got a plan, to somehow fill that void, but it sure would be better if the state would step up.
Yeah.
And, justice is kind of a state issue,
Yes.
if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
And you need to fund those judges, and you need to fund not just only for Veterans Court, but restorative justice. It's just as common sense, man. It's
Yeah.
saving tax dollars.
Yeah.
Gets
Exactly.
people's lives together, and
Mhm.
that's what we got to do. And I'm very proud of our county attorney moving and working with the judges, of course, the first judicial district, moving forward with a drug court.
Mhm. Good.
Okay, so now I'm all for mental health courts too,
Yeah.
but they tell me, Maluchnik, you're not an expert. And usually when you do a drug court, you take care of a lot of mental health issues. I respectfully disagree, but okay,
Yeah.
let's do the drug court and see what else we can do. And the same thing with juvenile justice, and
Definitely.
we need to do more there. This is why set people on a track that, gets them to go to criminal college, which is what jail is, really. And I had a daughter in the system, and she used to say, "Boy, you wouldn't believe what I learned today, Dad."
Yeah.
So,
Mm, yeah.
but okay,
Yeah.
I think
No,
that's enough on that, right?
I mean, when I was in law school, I worked for a judge in Ramsey County that was very, very fair. Taught me a lot and taught me a lot about restorative justice. So yeah, I'm absolutely in support of that. We do need to expand that as much as possible. So you got my word on that.
Well, that's a front load, right?
Yeah.
A front load. You spend a little money here to
Yep.
save a whole lot of money back there, back on the back. So
Exactly.
it's not one of those touchy-feely liberal programs.
Right.
It's one that makes sense for the taxpayer, for crying out.
Exactly.
So go ahead. What's
Yes.
next?
So speaking of funding, how is the money in the VA managed? There's state funding, there's federal funding, grant programs, all that stuff. Could you touch on how that's kind of managed?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure anybody knows, but so there's three divisions in the VA, and three important divisions. One is, of course, your health. Okay.
Mhm.
So, and what was really good is several years ago, of course, you're aware that the federal government often operates on a CR, continuing resolution, because all the parties cannot come together and make a decision on how much money or what programs are important to each other. So you had the VA healthcare system for nearly 2 decades running on a CR. All right, so they can't create problems or create programs that might solve problems. They have to operate on last year's budget. And in this case, a couple years back budget, because you got the continuing resolution going on for years and years. So finally, this is really, I'm so proud that this is one time where Congress really was doing its job. It made a 2-year budget so that the people can do the right planning. Government employees have to know what's coming down the pike so they can efficiently and effectively use your tax dollars. So this kind of solved one of those problems in the healthcare arena. All right. Something that's helping is a program, and I'm relating this hopefully to the money because they're interact. There's a situation, and I was very proud to work on this. And my boss, Congressman Mingy, was one of the first guys that signed on an administration job the administration bill under the Clinton administration to have what's called CBOCs, which I know you've heard of, community-based outpatient clinics. They have them in Shakopee. And rather than taking a veteran or the veteran taking time off, driving down to Minneapolis or Fargo or up to St. Cloud, they can go to a local, community-based outpatient care clinic. It's for primary care. If you need more, they send you to the VA, in Minneapolis or Fargo or again in St. Cloud. And, if you we could never understand for years, so you got a respiratory infection and the veteran is 74 years old and they got a back problem too. And you put them in a van. Vans are nice now, they're not like what they used to be, but sure. Bounce this veteran, for 3 hours on Minnesota highways, which is another issue I would love to talk to you about.
Yes, absolutely.
But, to get treated for an upper respiratory infection, then, and wait while everybody else gets, treated, get back on that van, they may have started at 6 a.m, get back on that van, ride another 3 hours back home, they get home late at night.
Yeah.
And for upper respiratory infection, why not go to the local clinic and get treated appropriately? Hey, brilliant idea. This saves taxpayers dollars, So we disperse the workforce. Senator Wellstone, great Senator Wellstone, little resistant about this program at first because he was concerned about the employees at the VA and the union folks would be concerned about this. What we found out though, and once Paul was on board, he was on board. He was a big promoter of this program, was that it gets more veterans to the VA because people might how a person is, oh, I'm fine, I'll just, forget about it. Well, then they were more likely to go to the clinic and to get treated or get, at least screened for primary care and say, hey, we need to send you down for a little bit more care down at the VA Medical Center. So that works, saves money for the taxpayer and provides better care for the veterans. Hey, there's a win-win-win all the way around. So I was proud to be on the ground floor with all that, as well as my good friend Al Lear, who people might know, Carver County, because he used to work for the great Senator Schmidt, probably back before you were born, Addie, I believe. And he was the 10-year mayor at the great city of St. Cloud, and the national legislative chair for the Veterans of Foreign War. So he was quite a veteran, quite a veterans advocate, and certainly one of my mentors. So, and him and I used to draw on the map when they first come out with the C box. Okay, one should be here, one should be there, one should be there, one should be there. Everybody, and pretty much there's a C block everywhere we said so, except we never say anything about Shakopee. We thought it should be in Chaska, but okay,
Yeah.
I don't know why that happened.
Yeah. I've got a biased opinion there, so I can't
Do
comment.
you?
I mean, hey, I work for the representative from Shakopee and I live here, so yeah, I get it.
Yeah, okay, I'll go along with it. You know, Tabke's never told me no on veteran stuff, so that's, we'll let him get away with this one.
Good,
So it's
good.
so the other, we haven't even talked about the veterans homes. Did you want to talk about that too?
Please, yes, please.
So yeah, and there's another. We're expanding there. Let me see. I got to check up all my information here. Do I got in my current? So anyway, we have one, of course, always in Minneapolis. Hastings was one. Laverne, Silver Bay, and now we look like we're expanding to Bemidji and another town out there west, and in the rural area. We had always been concentrated where the density was, and now we're rethinking that a little bit. And even though, you know, these will be in smaller communities, it'll have a regional flavor to it, you know. So this way, you take a person from up in Ely and you put them in a veterans home in Minneapolis, where's the support there? You know, and their long-term care and their health, you know, depend a lot on their support. Now there's great people working at our veterans homes and very supportive of veterans and advocate for them and work for them. And I haven't, at least we seem like we've taken care of the supervision of those programs. In the 90s, we had some backward movement there. I think that's been corrected thanks to the legislature and administration at the time. We've got that all handled and managed, and there's good leadership in that arena. But I'm pretty proud of the service they get. As a matter of fact, at the one in Laverne, my former sergeant major resided there until his death, and I was very proud of a man a senior NCO that did his best to take care of me when I was in the military. We could provide that service to him, and I thought that was very respectful and very nice thing. And it used to bring tears to my eyes to see that he was available to, or he had the option, and his family had the option to take advantage of that benefit that the good Minnesota taxpayers have provided for our veterans. So, okay, do we answer some questions?
Yes, and we had another one come in. I'm just going to scroll up to it here. 2 questions. One we'll save towards the end. It's a little bit off topic, but this one, besides voting for Addie for Senate, is there anything you wish the people of our county or Eastern Carver County schools would know or do to help veterans?
Well, first of all, the Eastern Carver County schools, how about hiring some veterans? Yeah. I'd like to see you do that. Okay. As a matter of fact, if you're an employer in Carver County, let's hire veterans. All right. There's reasons to do that. These people, they understand what it means to wake up and go to work in the morning. And, they're pretty dependable. They understand chain of command. They understand performance standards. In fact, they expect performance standards, and they feel empty when they're not held to performance standards. So I would say, how about us hiring some veterans? We can do that. Again, we talked about the programs that I would hope that the taxpayers would support, all the transitional housing, the veterans court, and of course our office down there, if they could. We're looking forward, and I think there's going to be more veterans in the county. I wish we'd stop making at least combat veterans. I would like to stop today doing that, if we could. And I know it's kind of like world peace, but hoping for that. But I still would like to see that, because I've seen too many lives. Just I got stories about guys in Vietnam who were tunnel rats, and we've got some here in Carver County that were tunnel rats, and I can't even imagine crawling down a hole with a flashlight with a 45 and hearing noise in front of me and behind me, and knowing that there's booby traps, and that's just too much to ask of a person. So I got off subject. What else the question? Let's go back to the question again.
Just anything that the community in Carver County can do to help or should know.
The number one thing is thank a veteran for their service. That's the best thing you can do. And I've been thanked so much, I'm a little embarrassed by it, especially since I had such an undistinguished career in the military. I never saw combat, never left the country, was a peacetime soldier. Did support some in PG-1, Persian Gulf 1, but still, they deserve your admiration and your thanks, and they make sure we have the freedoms that we need. So I think that's the best message. So, and let's hire those folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is another comment that said
Go ahead.
that she'll advocate for looking to hire more. So that is great. We'll save that other one towards the end. Let's get back to kind of touched on housing. I do want to talk a little bit about kind of suicide prevention awareness. I recently, and I know a lot of the folks that are watching too, did the 22 a day push-up challenge.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot. I learned that there's more folks that are passing away from suicide here than are passing away, or losing their lives in combat. And I think it's 22 a day. And we need to be doing more. So what can we do at a state level to help with that? And what can we do at a local level to help with that as well?
All right. Well, first of all, it's 22 a day is just a national tragedy. We should, we're better than that, and we should do better. The problem is it took just one problem, may not, be a solution for today, but we didn't know what was happening to the Vietnam veterans. We were losing them left or right. Nobody was tracking it. Nobody was paying attention, and to be honest with you, they kind of had a reputation of being a little different. Well, there's a reason they were a little different. I mean, if you're a tunnel rat and you come back home, you're going to be, you're going to be a little different than when you left, but so we didn't pay attention, but their rate may have been higher for suicides and actually, and some of them, and as well as some today, we're not sure whether they're suicides or not. One of the best, my best friends kept driving into bridges, and he was unsuccessful. In fact, his father was a Korean War veteran. His father came in one day and he told him, he says, Joel, if you want to kill yourself, there's better ways than this, but he had one of the worst cases of survivor guilt that I've ever seen. I mean, he would talk about, his buddies and that, and the tears would be streaming down his eye, or, his cheeks. And to this day, I think about Joe all the time and his many attempts at suicide. The best thing to know, if you know veterans, there's some signs, get online, get familiar with them, talk to them, integrate them into the community. We used to think, and this is not just the VA, but we used to think institutions were the solution to everything, Well, this ain't quite right. This person isn't quite functioning correctly. So we'll put them in an institution and hopefully someday they'll get well. Well, integration in the community is the best way to make sure that they get well, and that, taking them out of the community, well, how are they going to learn to function in the community then? By, as some people would say, well, they were in a smaller community, they do better, then they can transition. I don't think that one works. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and I'm not a psychiatrist, far from it, although I talk to one regularly. But anyway, the answer is to be aware that they're out there, know the signs, and try to get. You might not be able to help them, but if you can get them to Mr. T-Wall or someone else, or even another veteran, and many veterans are aware when they run across somebody they think's having a problem, because they're, a lot of veterans, if they spend, more time than one enlistment, you can even kind of spot a veteran walking down the street, male or female, because of there's just a feeling, that goes on. I can't explain it. Some people would think I'm nuts for saying that, but I just get that. So, so you got to watch it. And their suicide signs are pretty much the same as anybody else experiencing, the depression to that level. So that's my recommendations. Now, I'm sure that there's some experts that could tell you more, but if but I would recommend go online and look, and it's good to know that. If you're raising children, you want to know those kinds of issues, And so it's just awareness, I think, is the best. So I hope that answered some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple thank yous in the comments. One said, Tracy, thank you, or thank a veteran and vote those into office who will have veterans in mind when they are in office, which is a good note, and I agree. Suzette's watching as well.
Well, thank you. Whoever that was, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I talk about that?
Yeah.
The Congress in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, there's and up to the 90s, there were a lot of veterans. Mm-hmm. But we've had less, until rather recently, we have less and less veterans in public service, leadership positions, elected positions, if you will. Yeah. The ones we do have are phenomenal, like Senator Duckworth in Illinois, a combat wounded veteran. Yeah. And the first senator to have a baby while a member of the United States Senate. Yeah. So people out there who can help veterans that have an understanding in elected office, I've always done that. And sometimes I've voted for a veteran rather than what people would think I would vote for. Mm-hmm. And but I had information about how those persons had worked for veterans, and I wanted to strike a balance, and so I've done that in the past. And if that's your approach to how you select your elected people, I don't think that it's unwise. Mm-hmm. So if we don't take care of our veterans, why would you join the military? Yeah. Why would you want a career or at least a partial time serving if you knew that your family wasn't being taken care of, right, or that you would be taken care of if somehow you were harmed through your military service? It's silly. Rome, if you want to go to the history, it's when they stopped taking, there's other things, but and that could be transportation. We can talk about that too. Yeah. But they stopped taking care of their veterans, and look what happened to them, Right. Mm-hmm. They also stopped taking care of their roads, and look what happened. But anyway, they're not around anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah.
What's next?
I do want to touch on some different organizations that aren't necessarily within the VA, but like legions, VFWs, that kind of thing. Yeah. How did those get created? What's the purpose, and how do those interact with the VA as well?
Here's a heck of a history lesson if you're ready. Sure. First Revolutionary War was a Cincinnati group. George Washington was involved with that. Some of his senior officers, they advocated for veterans. All right, it was a good deal. The joke was that at the time you would apply for benefits to the federal government going through the district courts. Well, at the time, the district courts, of course, were elected. All right. So what President Washington said, or after he retired, he says, "I wish I had that many soldiers." So some people probably got some benefits that should not have gotten them, because and prove. And in fact, I had an ancestor who was he went home to farm because he had to go back and help the farm, and he was a lieutenant in the Revolutionary forces. So, okay, so that's the Cincinnati group. The next group of any significance would be the after the Civil War, and both sides, Grand Army of the Republic, the GAR, and the Confederates had also a group, and they, of course, they did a lot of the things that as a precursor to what we do nowadays, and they advocated for veterans, and many, you go around the state, there's still some GAR halls. I think there's one in not Hutchinson. I can't remember the town, but anyway, they're there. They got a great history. If you want to go over to the History Center, you can read all about them. They were good. So then we had Spanish American War, and these folks come back. These are the ones that were with Teddy Roosevelt, and somehow they thought that these old guys, and this is not a new thing, this will be a reoccurring issue. These old guys, they don't understand what it's like to go, fight in a foreign war and go to the Philippines and other places around the world, and the sacrifices made by their families to be gone and all this kind of thing. They didn't understand it. I'm not sure that's true, but they didn't understand it. Okay. So that group of people, again, mostly a lot of people that were associated with Teddy Roosevelt, in one way or another during his service, and others, they started the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And so that group has been very successful over the years of advocating for veterans. To be a member, you have to have served during a time of war in a theater of operation. So, they've held and they have auxiliaries. All veterans organizations have auxiliaries, which are vital to their success and helping veterans. And my wife belongs to two of them, and which keeps her busy. But she's a veteran advocate, I would say, certainly, and cares very deeply about her brother's service in Vietnam. But okay, that's the VFW. So then we get another war, surprise. Okay, and these are major groups. Now there's smaller groups, and they came along too. So at the end of World War I, a guy by the name of Teddy Roosevelt Jr. Okay, came back, and then they had a Paris conference, if you will, their first conference. They came back and they created the American Legion. And they thought that everybody that served during wartime should work together to advocate for veterans. All right. So it didn't matter whether you were just important because of what you did stateside. You know, it wasn't your situation. The government decided whether you were going to a theater of operation, or you were going to, you know, whether you're going to combat or you were going to be a support. Because it's changed over years. I think it's 3-to-1. You know, to support a soldier and it might be higher than that. Of course, I'm not current with that one. I'm sorry, and I don't deal with that issue. But anyway, so that's what they felt. And so we have the American Legion. We have some smaller group, DAV. I don't recall their history, although I have known it. AMVETS. There's you know, the Vietnam Veterans of America. They advocate too. And once again, they thought maybe the American Legion, maybe the VFW, and that they didn't understand, you know, what we're going through and all that. So, and people have the right to be represented and advocated for by who they think does their best job. So, and the VA, of course, recognizes some of these, they're what's called congressionally recognized. And so then they can have offices at the regional offices at the VA to advocate for veterans and to help them with their help veterans who are members with their claims. They don't even have to be members, but they help them with their claims, and they have people that are experts and been to schools and learn how to advocate for veterans and to do claims. And our county service officers work hand in hand with these folks to make sure those claims can be, once again, as solid as they can be when they go before people who make those decisions. So that's a short course on veterans, how they got to be, you know, and people ask me that all the time. And I just love it because they say, well, we're going to go over to the Legion on Creek Road there. I said, well, that's not the Legion, that's the VFW. They say, well, VFW is downtown Chaska. No, that's not. but that's okay, because, you know, if people that are non-veterans, it's kind of, you know, without a scorecard, it's kind of hard to track. But the bottom line is, a veteran organization, if you're a veteran and you're qualified or eligible to be in one of these organizations, you're wrong if you're not, because these people are advocating for you and your families, and most importantly, maybe your comrades and comrades to come in the future. So, definitely. All right, did we do that one?
Yeah. So
I'd like to mention out in Carver County, though, you know, we have a yellow ribbon organizations.
Oh yeah.
They're very important, and they're really great, and we love them to death. You got one in Norwood Young America, one in Chan, one in Chanhassen, and one in Chaska. And then we have one that we're really proud of in Chaska, called Flags of Honor of Minnesota. And that's Mr. Scott Bradley and his group of people. And they do a heck of a job raising money. And I'm unaware of Scott ever turning us down. If we have a veteran that's fallen through the holes, you know, in the floor, and we can't get their benefits right now for them, they'll somehow help that veteran out. And we've been to them many times, and we're very proud of what that organization does. And we can't thank Mr. Bradley and his compadres, his posse. I like to call him his posse.
Yeah, there you go.
And getting that stuff done. And so I should also mention September 2nd, there's a golf outing at Deer Run that the profits from that go to MACV to guarantee that the money is used for Carver County veterans, but for MACV benefits and services, so support services for veterans. So that's something we're doing, and we're very glad that that's happening. So there's people, and you know what? If you want to help veterans, those are fine organizations to join. and to advocate for veterans in that manner too. If you're a person that's not a veteran, those are good things to remember. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month.
Mhm.
So they say it's down 16 veterans a day now from 22. The difference is those are active duty people.
Mhm.
We don't know, and of course, that by deployment, we've got more guard and reserve folks going. So it's hard to track, if a person was deployed, like the person I met the other day, as Air Force Reserve, was a crew chief. All right, he four different tours in Afghanistan theater of operations. So is that person suffering and could possibly end their life? And it's hard to track all this, so we got to try to figure that out. But again, the best thing is the people in the community, as you and I talked earlier. So okay, that's the one point that I had forgotten to make, and I'm glad that we came back to that. So
yeah, absolutely. So one quick question, and I'll give you with the last one you're gonna like. So this next one, how important is it that our governor has been in active duty, has been in the military?
Well, I always love sergeant majors. I told you about the one that was down at Laverne, and it many times ran interference for me for people who did not have my best interest at heart. That happens sometimes in the military. Okay, the mission is always first, but you don't want to get caught up in all the other things, So what I like about the governor is that he was a sergeant major. He was on deployment, and he was in a combat unit, whose mission was combat. All right. So that's a little different than the sergeant major, who's the admin sergeant major at brigade or level and that kind of thing. So that's an administrative kind of guy. These folks out here in these combat mission organizations, they have to take care of the troops. They have to know what they're doing, and it seems to me that that's where his emphasis has been as a governor.
Yeah.
And he has put a lot of resources in shelter for the homeless veterans. In fact, this is the first, and I've known all the commissioners of Veterans Affairs for 30 years. This was the first one that actually goes and talks to people, not just the groups, but he actually talks to landlords and calls landlords and tries to talk them into, hey, I got these veterans out here. Is there a way we can get, and people are concerned, well, they got a felony or, they don't have very good credit and all that. Hey, we got a program. We'll guarantee you get your money,
Yeah.
But we got to give these people a chance. And so we're very lucky to have the commissioner of Veterans Affairs we have. He's committed, he's did it, and he cares. So I would say that let's see, I'm thinking back now. This is the first governor we have had with military service, if I'm thinking correctly, for quite some time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Although I don't want to, it's great. I mean, Governor Plenty was there for the veterans, and he did some things. In fact, he gave veterans some things that the advocacy groups weren't asking for. So at one time I was the chair of the American Legion Legislative Committee, and we got something from the legislature. And he said, "Where did this come from?" So,
Yeah.
But apparently, he had people advising him, and that's good. So, but this governor, I feel like veterans are in good hands with this governor. So, I think he understands what it's like because he's been through it, and he's seen many people that where their military service has adversely affected the quality of their life. So,
yeah, definitely. So, okay, our last question. We are a little bit over, but whatever.
I'm sorry.
So that's okay.
My fault.
Hey, I like this stuff. I love it.
If I get a captive audience, I'll talk all day.
There you go. So you are currently a commissioner. You're running for re-election, and someone asked, what are the main things that a county commissioner handles? New businesses, new parks, school funding, etc.
Yeah, we don't do nothing in school funding, okay? But we do support the schools with mental health services for the students. All right, we need to do more there, and I'm working on that. We've improved or expanded since I was a commissioner. I'm concerned about the mental health of the students. I think many people know that, and get me back on track after I run down this hill, okay? So my childhood was, I thought I came from a good home, but my mother suffered from addiction to prescription drugs. So mental health was an issue. I thought I was fine, the old, well, my mother tested me, I'm fine. But I know that it seemed to have more on the younger kids in my family, my siblings, that seemed to have problems that affected their learning. And probably me too, but I just wouldn't ever recognize it or probably admit to it. But anyway, you save money if you front end load a problem. And if we can get that, we can help the schools and help our teachers, our classroom teachers who want to teach, let's get them away from filling out paperwork. And if we can help a kid learn better because they're not struggling with mental health issues, let's do it, because it's certainly if they're a non-functioning adult, that's expensive. That's expensive. So parks and trails. Yeah. Hey, it used to be, that wasn't an issue. It's an issue now. You just try closing a park, or we got the water is bad out of Baylor because of the animals, out there. And so we have to close the water access out there. Well, we just hate doing it. And boy, do you get complaints, but hey, you swim in that water, you're going to get sick. So we can't have, we can't have people at that park. We keep working on a program. Every year we do more and more. It's better for the people. They're healthier. And I use mineral wash all the time. And I have a granddaughter who loves to go swimming out there. And it's fishing and fishing docks. And I'm very proud that the commissioners, and it took some time because there was some budget issues, but we finally eliminated the fees. It took us a while. Other people surrounding us did it quicker. And we had to set things up and set it up better for the budget. So we got rid of the park fees. So now we got people of all social, economic situations using that park, and it's good for everybody. And by the way, businesses like it because you have better quality of life. When you have good quality of life, then you have good people living in the community who are very strong and good educated workforce. So that's just the way it is. Those are the facts, ma'am, and that's the way it works. So yeah, we do parks, we do roads, we need to do roads better. We have this problem. Cities like developments, okay, because it spreads out the tax base. We love it. The only problem is our roads aren't built for that capacity.
Right.
And so we're going to be bothering you a lot if you're a senator.
I'm ready for it.
About improving roads here in Carver County. And it don't matter whether they're a county road, because if you don't take care of the state road, guess where the people drive?
Right.
They drive on your county roads, or they drive on your city streets. And the driver is very, very creative when it's okay, I'm going to avoid that bottleneck. And you would believe the places that they drive in. We got one situation where semi trucks are actually getting off the road, the state highway, and driving on a county. I'm sorry, not county, a township dirt road to avoid dangerous intersections on Highway 212.
Yeah.
So what about the taxpayers in that township?
Right.
They're paying, that's not fair, and it's not right, and they tear up the road so much more there that it's a safety issue for those folks. So roads have always been a big thing. Mental health has always been a big thing for me. Supporting the sheriff, in a common sense way. And we've had common sense sheriffs. So that's been easy to do. And I'm very excited to support the sheriff's initiative to go with body cam.
Yeah.
It costs a little money. Will probably save us in the money in the long run. And, people deserve to be treated with the very best, try to disengage I'm sorry, not you want to engage, but to de-escalate. And, you got to have the warriors. There's time to be a warrior. All of us veterans, we understand that. Okay. But the best thing to do is to stay out of that war situation, not only to protect the public, but also to protect the law enforcement folks, because we never know what's going to happen. You know, as situations where that I'm aware of, where escalation occurred and our police officers got hurt.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh my
where it just doesn't make any sense. So people deserve to be treated in a respectful manner.
Yeah.
And because, you know, yes, and the cops got to be safe too. I get it. And we can strive to obtain that balance, and I think we can. Is there going to be unique situations? You bet there are. So that's why we try to hire the very best people to do those jobs.
Mhm.
So to make good decisions, and normally those people are good leaders too. So did I catch them all?
I think so. We got a lot of
Okay.
thank yous. One comment said, "My kids and I love all the trails and parks in Chaska." Thank you. Nancy said,
No,
"Randy."
not all of them are county. Some of those are the city of Chaska. I'm not taking credit for
There
that.
is a,
Well, wait, I did 4 years on city council, so I take
there
credit.
you go. There is a councilwoman watching the comments as well. So,
Yeah,
and
great.
then, thank you
Thank them for their service.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Taylor.
That's a thankless job.
Yeah. Okay, Les.
You need to
Randy,
do more for libraries too, if somebody's asking.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Randy, you speak with years of experience. Thank you, which I agree as well. All right.
Yeah.
So
Well, you guys paid me a lot of money to have this experience, you know. So from the day I left high school, you know, and I worked in the private sector, made good money in the private sector, but I don't get a bang out of it.
Yeah.
You know, and taking that check or driving that armored car to the bank once a week, that wasn't my thing. My thing is when you help people, and particularly, and this is the old saying I got from my old Wyoming cowboy days, you know, we're not doing a handout, we're doing a leg up.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Wyoming, they like to say, you know, we'll give you a leg up, but we can't ride that horse for you.
Yeah, there you go. I love that.
Yeah. We used to say that. All the old cowboys used to say that. But even some of the guys, I knew some of the ones that used to bust horses, and they were around for a long time. These guys, I don't know, their body was all mangled up. I don't know how they were getting around, but some of them were veterans actually. So, but that's kind of been my mantra, if you will. You know, we'll give you a leg up, but we can't ride that horse. You're going to have to take some responsibility, but we'll help you take care of that mental health problem. We'll get you in the right direction. And, you know, we don't spend money just to spend money, just to feel good. We try to spend money to do the right thing and to help people in the right way at the right level. So
definitely.
That makes sense to you.
Absolutely. Yes. And I'm really excited to be a partner with you in this work. I mean, I've known you for a couple of years, and we've always had great conversations, and I'm really excited to win this election and you win your reelection, and we'll take it to the next level. Keep doing what we can do for our county.
Yeah, that would be, I would love to do that. I would love to do that very much. And so I thank you for having and caring enough to talk about this and let me ramble.
Absolutely. Hey.
You know, I told you it's a very dangerous thing to give me a captive audience and
there you go.
not put me in a harness, you know, or blinders where I got to stay right on the issues. So. But anyway,
we'll have you back for a transportation and infrastructure conversation.
Boy, I tell you, if you want to again, let me go untethered. I can talk about transportation. It's we do as a country. It's the old Churchill thing. I'm sure you heard it, right? Mm-hmm. You know, the United States will do the right thing after they've tried everything else. And in transportation infrastructure, that's where we're at. I mean, we don't, and some people think that transportation is free. I don't know why they don't understand it costs money. So we've got to, and you know what? It's got to be about it. We want good transportation infrastructure. Sure. Okay. It's great for our economy. It'll grow jobs. But the number one thing is my grandkids and children, they got to be safe when they're driving on those roads and streets.
Exactly.
And the same thing with the truckers. You know, those guys moving that freight, they deserve to be as safe as they can be. All right. So that's what. So I need your help as state senator to do that. If you're willing to talk.
Absolutely.
Heck, even Tabkey's willing to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. I'll loop him in too.
Yeah, you tell him I said so.
I will. All right. Well, thank you so much, Randy, for joining us. And thank you everyone for watching. And if there's anything you need from us, let me know and we can get everyone connected how they need to be. So
hey, my phone number, I like to talk to people, 612-964-5382. And then of course I've got emails, and you just look on the website, the county or my candidate website if you want to do that. And if you want to send an email, but I like talking to people because I don't know how long you can write, and we all like to write and do those things, but boy, I'd rather either face to face or talk on the phone and make sure you understand exactly where I'm at on something. So
Yeah.
that's what I would like. Okay. So how do you get out of this?
I'm just going to end it and it'll shut right off. So we're
All
good.
right, I'm going to trust you.
Thanks so much, Randy.
You bet. Take care.
Bye-bye.